Well, I was painfully shy, so nobody even knew that I was trying to pursue this for real. They just knew I was singing a lot. So when I started writing songs, my own, I kept them to myself, very private. And then my best friend, one day he caught me and he said, "Man, you got to do this. You got to do this." And since then, I just became more vocal about it, and I put it out in the world, and took everything that came with it, the praise and the critique.
What's up, Toby?
Adam, what's going on, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
This guy's handsome. Jeez.
This guy's handsome.
Come on, man. I'm cool, man. I'm cooling. Question for you: would you prefer I go on my phone or my laptop?
Whatever's more comfortable for you. I mean, it sounds good here, but if you want to do your laptop, it's up to you.
Let's just rock with the phone.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for doing this. We're going to talk about you and your journey in music. And I believe you announced the album today. Did you not?
I did. It's
With
been
Flatline, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The album is called Panic, but the single's called Flatline.
That just came out today.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll get into that as well.
Absolutely.
Sweet. So I did read you originally were born in Nigeria and then moved to Canada.
Absolutely. Lagos, Nigeria.
What was that like? I mean, how old are you when you ended up moving to Canada? Do you remember any of that time?
Oh my goodness, I remember so much. I was 8, turning 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember everything, man. I remember music. I remember flavors of foods. I remember sights, sounds. I speak the language Yoruba, which is my ethnic language in addition to English. So, the
Wow.
memories are strong.
Yeah. So when you moved to Canada, did you speak English yet or no?
Absolutely. So English is the first language in Nigeria, but Yoruba was spoken in my home.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do your parents still speak it, or do you speak with them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. It's the Yoruba language is like a song. It's very melodic when you speak it. The accent is very melodic. So yeah, it just sounds soothing to me.
Awesome. And how did you get into music? Do you come from an artistic household, musical family at all?
I come from a music loving household. So
Okay.
not creators, but my mom, my dad, they were always listening to music, dancing in the house. My home was always colored with the sounds of music, for sure.
Okay. And then you ended up when you moved to Canada, were you already involved in music in any way? Were you like singing or chorus or choir or piano lessons or anything like that?
No, I wasn't actually. Everything was just based off curiosity, my innate curiosity. My mother, when I moved to Canada, I only moved with my dad. It was just me and my dad. So
Okay.
she gave me this book. She gave me this blank notepad, something like this. And, when I moved to Canada, I just started writing songs in there and stories. And it just became my best friend. You know what I'm saying? And that's how music started.
Wow. And then with those lyrics that you're writing, were you coming up with little melodies and stuff? Were you trying to make songs? Or is it just something that you were using to write?
Always writing melodies. I've been singing all my life, brother. Yeah.
Cool. Did you join the chorus or choir or anything like that when you got to Canada?
Yeah. So the cool thing is when the rest of my family came to Canada and met up with us, my brother, he was naturally gifted at singing. So he became the choir leader. And then I wanted to join too, because I saw he was getting a lot of girls. So I was like, let me join too.
Okay. How old are you when you joined?
I was probably about 10, 11 years old. Yeah.
Okay. And from that point where you just enjoyed singing, or like when do you start writing songs or showing people your music? Like how did that begin?
To be honest with you, I've been singing every day since I started singing. And you ask anybody who knew me growing up, I would just be that guy who would just be singing to himself. Like I didn't need an audience.
Okay.
And that's what it was. It was an obsession, you know. I probably did it a little too much, to be honest with you, but I was obsessed with it and it wasn't hurting anybody. So I just kept doing it.
Kept doing it. And then you were like, as far as like your own songs went, were you showing anyone your songs at all? Or was it just something you were always doing, like singing your own stuff? Like people just knew you as like, oh, Toby's the guy that's always doing music, always singing his own songs.
Well, I was painfully shy, so nobody even knew that I was trying to pursue this for real. They just knew I was singing a lot. So when I started writing songs, my own, I kept them to myself, very private. And then my best friend, one day he caught me and he said, "Man, you got to do this. You got to do this." And since then, I just became more vocal about it, and I put it out in the world, and you know, took everything that came with it, the praise and the critique.
Did he hear you sing? Like, how did he even find out that you were doing this?
I think it was one of those like vulnerable moments where it was just like, "Hey, man, check out this thing that I did." You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know, I don't remember the exact moment, but all I know is he was very supportive, man, very, very supportive. And to this day, that's still one of my best friends. So, you know, that it's always been a special relationship.
That's amazing. So when you decide, okay, you have the courage now to put a song out, do you like, what was where do you go? Do you put it something up on YouTube? Do you put it up on the internet? How do you kind of begin your journey?
I don't know if you remember this app called MySpace, but that was the
Ah,
first place.
I'm
Yeah,
old. I remember MySpace.
yeah. I'm dating myself too. But yeah, MySpace, you know, that's the first place I really put out a song. And you know, that was short-lived because Facebook came after, and then I just started putting them up on Facebook and then YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
MySpace was interesting because it was breaking bands. I mean, and artists. Like you could get on their like list of unsigned bands, and lots and lots of people would be able to hear your music. Was that something that happened for you? Like, were you getting a lot of eyes on your song at all? Oh no.
Absolutely not.
Okay
It was I was
then.
getting, you know what? I would get like a 1-2 love. For me, it was the networking aspect that was dope about it. I
Okay.
wasn't getting mad people being like, "Oh, this guy is you know, I'm a fan," but because this was the first days and my music at that point wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
Mhm.
But people saw the potential, and that's when I started making friends and building my confidence. It was a confidence test, to be honest.
Okay. And then you ended
Mhm.
up going to college for something completely different than or university, right? For something totally not in the music realm. Is that what I read?
Yeah, I did my undergrad in biology and I minored in psychology. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, was that something that you were looking to pursue and then music kind of started to work out for you? Like, how did that, how'd you make that shift?
To be honest, it sounds easy now, but in the moment, it was one of the most difficult things I'd ever done in my life, one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made. Because as a child of an immigrant family, you know, there was the guilt of not going into a field that was highly respectable. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, my parents made all this sacrifice. Like, how can I not do something that will bring um, you know, joy and credibility to their efforts? You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I'll go to medical school route, and that was my goal. Yeah.
And then you ended up going this route at one point, right? I mean, it sounds like that you were able to you had to make that hard decision. And was there like a moment or like a song that you had put out that was doing something that you were confident enough to be like, all right, this is the thing, I'm doing this?
The moment where that happened is all so serendipitous because I finished my undergrad and I was planning on, you know, doing my master's, and then something just called out to me. I read this book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and one of the premises in the book was about taking the unconventional path. And I credit Paulo Coelho for writing that book, because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now. And I just took that leap of faith, to be honest with you. I had no motion. I just took a leap of faith. And things just started falling in place like Tetris.
What was the first piece to fall?
The first piece to fall was I secured about $3,000 for application that I put in to fund a project. And I put all that money. I love that
about Canada. They do, like, I think New Zealand is the only other place I've ever heard that you can get the grants, right? That'll help support the arts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was that $3,000 was that shit went a long way, man. I used it to record the whole project, to shoot some videos, you know, to pay my engineer, pay the producer, you know. Yeah, that shit went a long way. So
wow. And that was with the FYI project?
FYI, for your information. Yeah.
That's amazing. And wow. So then that starts doing something for you after you were able to just invest the 3,000, which is a lot. I mean, seems like a lot probably when you're finished with school and everything else, but to use that to have videos and put an EP out and do a whole project. Once that's finished, and are you seeing more fans? Like, how did that, like, did that help grow your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what happened was, so I was working full time at that point. I left school, I started working full time. So in addition to the 3,000, I had enough money to supplement with my paycheck. And my friend, David, he became my manager. And we got on that email blog era grind where we just sent it to everybody known to man and said, listen to this. And people started rocking with it, man. And I think because it was a different sound, you know, it was hip hop, but it was soulful. And people hadn't really seen something like that before at the time. And I think that's what really got it moving.
That's amazing. And then you eventually got on RCA, or signed with RCA with Still.
Yes, sir.
That's huge. I mean, what was that moment like?
Yeah, that was another serendipitous moment, because there's a Jonathan Master, he signed me, and he was starting his own imprint. And the difference between him and the other execs that I had seen was he was so down to earth and grounded. And he really cared about the music. It wasn't about how much streams or followers you have. It's about the music. Dude, I had 3,000 Instagram followers. You know what I'm saying? I had like 1,000 Twitter followers. I had like 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Like there was no motion.
Yeah.
And, you know, he saw that and he said, I'm going to take a chance on you and let's get it rocking. 'Cause I love your sound and, you know, the energy that I want to put out into the world. And that was basically it.
Wow. And then was he right? Or, you know what I mean? Like, then you end up getting a Juno Award and all these other things that ended up coming along with that. And what a cool like moment to have somebody really validate what you're doing and weren't looking at like followers and subscribers and all of that thing, all those things.
Absolutely. There are certain people in this life that, man, I will never, ever, ever take for granted. Never take them for granted. And I remember everything, man. I remember everything. So, you know, those kind of things, even talking about it right now with you, I'm getting chills just talking about it because it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You don't hear those stories very often where it's somebody at that level will take a chance like that. It's incredible. And with Elements Volume 1, you put that out, I think, in 2020, correct? Like, so were you working on that record up until the pandemic? Like, where did that fall in line with when you released the album?
So, man, I got to be honest. Elements Volume 1 was not supposed to be a thing.
Oh, really?
No, it was not. It was not. I was working on this album, Panic, that I just announced today.
Yeah, we'll talk about it 100% in a minute here. I'm just trying to get
sure.
chronologically up to it.
For sure. And I was working on it, and then the whole pandemic thing happened, and it sidelined my whole business. And well, it sidelined so many people's business, right?
Sure.
Everybody's business. And I took a break from making the album, and but I'd been recording so many songs. I had hundreds of songs. And I was like, what am I going to do with all these songs in the meantime? So we took our favorite 10 and got a diverse palette, and we put it together and we called it Elements. That's also a nod to chemistry class.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we wanted to put it all together and put out something that I was proud of, but it's not the album, you feel.
Okay. Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
something that there were songs you already had completed, and you were like, oh, let's just, I'm going to pause on the album and we'll put out these songs and just kind of see what happens before we can get back in and work on the album.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm proud of all of those songs. I'm proud of Elements Volume 1. Oh my goodness, for sure. Um, the way we were able to put it out in the middle of the pandemic, shooting videos. We shot videos during
That's
when we were online.
wild.
We shot videos, man. I shot a video in Nigeria and Canada simultaneously
Oh my
for one of the
gosh.
songs. For one of the songs, yeah. It was called Dollars and Cents. It was a interesting production because nobody was outside. We were
Yeah.
like the only people outside.
Oh my gosh. And you traveled to Nigeria during that time period and back to Canada? Oh, no.
No, I had a crew in Nigeria shoot half of the video there, and we shot half of it in Canada, and then we edited it together in Canada.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so half of the shots are in Lagos and half of it are in Toronto.
Wow. I was going to say, I know that Canada had some pretty strict restrictions on traveling. You would have had to like quarantine in some hotel or something. I was hearing some wild
Oh
stories.
yeah, and then you had to pay like $2,000. It was a lot going on, man.
Oh man.
It
Well,
was a
that's
lot.
amazing that you're able to get that done. That's so did you have people that you knew there that you were working with, like how like to reach out to, like friends and stuff that you had growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of family down there still. So, having a good solid network down there was definitely helpful because
Yeah.
yeah, I found a director in like a couple hours and then we kept it moving.
Oh wow. And then you got a Juno Award. You win a Juno Award. I mean, what's to be not only nominated for that, that's such a massive accomplishment. Do you remember getting the call or getting the email or however they contact you saying that you're even up for one?
Yeah, I remember when I was nominated, I was like, "What?" Bro, I was so shocked, man. I was so shocked because, you know, in Canada growing up, seeing these bodies recognize some of the most talented artists in the country, it's not that you don't see yourself there one day. It's just you don't know when that time will be. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I
Mhm.
ain't anticipate it. I ain't know it was gonna be now. But you know, I've always kind of had this interesting relationship with accolades and recognition because I don't do it for that. I've
Yeah.
never done it for that. So when it happens, I'm just like obviously grateful.
Sure. But that's not
But
what it's all about.
yeah, it's like that's not what I came here for, but like this is amazing. I didn't think it was gonna happen. And then here we are. So, you know, um, yeah, that was basically it. Yeah.
That must have been pretty special though for your parents. I mean, everyone, uh, especially since you had to make that tough decision. Like, do I go to medical school or do the music thing? And then, the Juno Awards is like it's the biggest music award show in Canada. It's second to probably the Grammys. And
Yeah.
them to see their son like win, not only winning, but being nominated, like talk about like you know, you made the right decision, I guess.
Absolutely, man. And that was the most that's when the tears came down. That's when the waterworks came down, is when I looked at my parents, man, because, you know, my parents, man, the things that I seen them do, bro, like, man, it's heavy. It's heavy. The things that I seen them sacrifice, man, like, that's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, I'm sure that was quite a special moment to be able to
Mhm.
show them, see, we made the right decision here, like, and then to
Absolutely.
win it all, that's amazing. Well, speaking on the album, Panic is coming out in October.
Mhm.
Just announced it today, which is awesome. And I want to talk about the single that came out. But so you were working on this album in what, 2019 up into 2020, and then the pandemic happens, and then it's like how far along were you? Were you just kind of starting it out? Like, tell me about the album, kind of the process.
Yeah, I'd say by the time the pandemic rolled around, I was like a quarter of the way through,
Okay.
you know, and you know, I had the decision to make. Do I want to keep doing this thing remotely? Because I was working with a producer in LA and I was in Toronto, but I couldn't travel. So we
Oh
were
yeah,
doing it
back and
on
forth.
Zoom, you know, FaceTime, and it wasn't clicking, bro. I gotta be honest with you. Something, it wasn't clicking. So we're like, you know what, let's take a break on this. And I think we made the right decision because, I mean, truth be told, as soon as the travel restriction was lifted, I got my ass back here to LA. I moved here actually.
Oh, okay. You're in LA now.
I am, yeah.
Awesome.
So I moved here as soon as I was able to do so, and we just got to work. Yeah. So we took like, I want to say we took almost a year off from working on it. It was a, yeah, it was an
Wow.
interesting process, man.
When you went back to work on it and listen to were you did you have access to listen to what you had done in that in the meantime? Or like was it you go
Absolutely.
back and listen or you're like, oh, we should redo this, or oh, I have a great idea for that? Like did it change what you had already started?
Um, no, it didn't because I had all the files. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
had all the files. I just didn't want to cross contaminate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want, like, the intention of this album, I didn't want it to spill over into something else. And I didn't want something else to spill over into the creation of this because it's a very singular focused project. So, you know, I had to compartmentalize a bit and be like, yo, I'm back here. This is my producer, Alex Goose. I said, you know, I'm back here. We're locking in and we're gonna work on this and be focused on it. And that's what happened.
You said that the album's very like it's really what, straightforward. Like tell me about the concept behind the album.
Yeah, so I call the album Panic.
Mhm.
And I've had this title in my head for like 6 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've had this title in my head for 6 years for a couple of reasons. One, you know, when I look at the when I look at the word panic, right? Panic to me means like a sense of urgency, right? It means like fear, but in like an acute state. You know what I mean? Like where you can't sweep it under the rug, right? And you know, as somebody who has lived with anxiety before in the past, I know what that feels like to have fear underlying but not acute. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I struggle with anxiety as well. I didn't even know what it was until I had to go to a doctor. They're like, "It sounds like I'm gonna die like out of nowhere." And they're like, "Oh, no, that's called anxiety." Oh, okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you see where I'm coming from.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to create something that denotes a sense of urgency, that denotes a sense of urgency in the world because I'm a millennial, I'm a late millennial, you know, I see these Gen Z kids and, you know, they're coming into a world that they've inherited from previous generations. You know what I'm saying? Like we all did. We all came into a world we inherited. We didn't ask to be here. We didn't choose to be here. We just came. We just showed up. And it's like, how do we try to make it easier for the following generations? By bringing attention to things. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do. That's what I do on the album. That's what I do on the album. You know, I bring attention to things and in a way that feels real to me.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that feels very real to me. And you know, I don't want people to live in fear, because it's not about fear. It's not about fear. It's about love. You know what I'm saying? That's really what the album is about, love and hope. But I can't sugarcoat. I can't sugarcoat, you know? So that's basically it.
I love that. It's interesting to hear you talk about like panic being like a sense of urgency. I feel like I struggle with that all the time for like no apparent reason. My wife will be like, what's the rush? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's like you have to like really stop and be like, yeah, there really isn't a rush for whatever it may be. I mean, I don't know the depth of the album, but I would imagine it's obviously deeper than what I'm saying. But it's just like interesting to hear like how you describe panic, instead of like panic is like, you know, it's like, no, it's an acute, you know, sense of fear.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And you know what? Also, like, it's wild. When the pandemic happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the early days, I'm talking the first month.
The 2 weeks it was going to take.
Yeah, exactly. And remember how people were acting?
Oh yeah.
Remember the grocery
a piece
stores?
of toilet paper and like
Was gone.
crazy.
Because what happened was the situation caused us to revert to our primal instincts, our primal states of fear, right?
Oh yeah.
Normal people, we normally normal and chill, but the environment made us revert to those states. So this is a cautionary tale. I don't want us to be in a position where we have to revert to those primal states. I really don't, because it's not good for anybody.
No, not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So that's where my head is at, man. It's like, you know, we, like you said, bro, like we just got to take a deep breath and chill sometimes and realize, yo, we actually got this. Like we actually got what we need.
Yeah.
Why we got it.
It's interesting that it was toilet paper. Like there wasn't any other object that could supplement it, but
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I got I want to just hear real quick about Flatline. That's the first single from the project, correct? And why'd you decide on going with that one as the first song?
Yo, actually, that's not the first single from the project. It's just the one that we put out today.
Oh, it's just the one that you announced with the album today.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I mean, the first single was called Flowers, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
Flowers.
heard that song. I didn't know if that the announcement brought the fact that, oh, here's a new one. This is the album. That was my mess up.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good, bro.
But yeah, tell me about Flatline.
Yeah, so Flatline, I wrote that when I was in Toronto. And the premise kind of behind it was I was feeling like I was in a like powerless state, you know, cooped up indoors, no sense of direction in my life. You know, there's mad protests going on in the world right now, confused. And, you know, I was like, how do I express myself in a real, meaningful, tangible way? And Alex had sent me this beat and I was like, bro, this just renewed something in me. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally renewed something in me. And then that's where the concept of Flatline came from, because it's supposed to be braggadocious. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be like confident. That's supposed to be like when I wake up and go to the gym or go for a run or before I do a show. That's the feeling that I want, you know? I bodied that. It's a flat line. Like I bodied it. I killed it, you know? Check the polygraph. It's a flat line, you know? The polygraph. I'm speaking facts. So that's the whole premise behind it, you know? So, you know, and I just want to transfer that power onto people. It's a transfer of energy.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. What screwed me up is Spotify. It clumped your songs and said it was an EP. I'm like, wait a minute. So anyway.
It'd be doing that. It'd be doing that. No worries, bro. No worries.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, am I losing my mind? I swear I saw something.
Bro, there's no rules anymore. Everything just happened.
Well, you're awesome, TOBi. I appreciate your time today. I can't wait to hear the album. I mean, coming out in October. And I have one more quick question for you before I let you go.
Yeah,
it's been a blast chatting with you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Advice for aspiring artists. Oh, yeah, I do. I'm gonna take it to a verse that I heard when I was a kid, and it's stuck with me ever since. And the verse goes, "Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world." And that just means follow your intuition, follow your gut, trust yourself before you take on other people's opinions.
Bringing it backwards.